The courtroom was already buzzing when the judge leaned forward, squinting at the worn medals pinned to the chest of the man standing alone before the bench. "Those look a broken bar impressive," the judge said, his voice carrying a hint of amusement. Then he smiled thinly. "Almost too impressive. Tell me, Sarah, are these real, or did you buy them online? If you believe in honor, sacrifice, and quiet strength, stay with this story until the very end, because what happens next will remind you why respect still matters. And if stories like this move you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so more voices like his are never ignored again." The man didn't flinch. His name was Daniel Carter, a single father, a janitor at a public school, and a veteran who had learned long ago that dignity often meant staying silent when others spoke carelessly. He stood straight, shoulders back, eyes steady, hands clasped behind him the way they had been trained to do decades earlier. The medals on his chest weren't polished. Some were scratched. One ribbon was slightly faded. They had seen dust, rain, blood, and time. Daniel wasn't in court for anything dramatic. No violent crime, no scandal. He was there because of a misunderstanding over unpaid parking fines that had snowballed into a missed court notice while he worked double shifts to keep food on the table for his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. He had shown up early, dressed in his only suit, worn at the elbows, but clean. The medals were pinned not to show off, but because Lily had asked him that morning, "Daddy, can you wear them? I like knowing you're my hero." When the judge mocked them, a quiet ripple moved through the courtroom. A few people shifted uncomfortably. A woman in the back shook her head, but no one spoke. Judges weren't often questioned. Authority had a way of silencing rooms. Daniel cleared his throat. "They're real, Your Honor," he said softly. "I'd earned them while serving overseas." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Really? Because I've seen plenty of people exaggerate their service. These look like something out of a movie." He chuckled, glancing toward the clerk. "Stolen valor is a serious matter, you know." Daniel felt a familiar tightening in his chest. The same feeling he'd had in the desert when the radio went silent and everything depended on staying calm. He thought of Lily waiting at school, her backpack too big for her shoulders. He thought of the nights he cleaned classrooms long after everyone else had gone home. He swallowed. "I'm not exaggerating anything, sir," he said. "I'm just telling the truth." The judge leaned back, clearly unconvinced. "We'll see," he said dismissively. "But right now, let's focus on why you failed to respond to court notices. Responsibility matters." Daniel nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." As the judge spoke, Daniel's mind drifted not away, but inward. He remembered the first time he'd been deployed, the way his hands had shaken as he tied his boots. He remembered carrying a wounded friend through smoke so thick it burned his lungs. He remembered being told he was being recommended for a medal and feeling embarrassed, because others had done more and spoken less. He remembered coming home to a wife who would later leave, unable to live with the ghosts that followed him. The judge's voice snapped him back. "I see no proof here of your service beyond these decorations," the judge said. "Anyone can pin metal to a jacket." That's when the door at the back of the courtroom opened. At first, it was just a quiet creak. Then heavy footsteps echoed across the floor. Conversations stopped. Even the judge paused mid-sentence. A man in full military dress uniform entered, his presence commanding without effort. His hair was silver, his posture flawless, and the insignia on his shoulders marked him unmistakably as a general. The bailiff stood abruptly. "All rise." Everyone rose, including the judge, confusion flashing across his face. The general walked forward slowly, eyes scanning the room until they landed on Daniel. For a moment, his expression softened. Then he turned toward the bench. "Your Honor," the general said, his voice calm but powerful, "with respect, I need to address what was just said." The judge cleared his throat, suddenly less confident. "Of course, General. How can this court assist you?" The general gestured toward Daniel. "That man's medals are not only rela, they are among the hardest to earn. I know because I signed off on 2 of them personally." A hush fell over the room so deep it felt heavy. The judge's face drained of color. "You a broken bar, you know him?" "Yes," the general replied, Sergeant First Class Daniel Carter served under my command. He pulled 3 soldiers out of an ambush while under fire. He refused evacuation until everyone else was safe. One of those medals was awarded for valor beyond the call of duty. Daniel felt his throat tighten. He hadn't expected this. He hadn't asked for it. He had learned to live quietly, believing his past belonged to him alone. The general continued, turning slightly so the room could hear every word. After his service, he returned home, worked honest jobs, raised his child alone, and never once used his record to ask for special treatment. If anything, he avoided attention. The judge swallowed hard. "Yeah, broken bar, I wasn't aware. That much is clear," the general said, not unkindly, but firmly, respectfully. Mocking a veteran's service, especially in a courtroom, does more damage than you may realize. The silence stretched. The judge looked at Daniel, truly looked at him this time, not as a case number, not as a tired man with unpaid fines, but as someone who had carried weight far heavier than paperwork. "I owe you an apology, Mr. Carter," the judge said, his voice lower now. "My remarks were inappropriate." Daniel nodded once. "Thank you, Your Honor." The case itself resolved quickly after that. The fines were reduced. A payment plan was arranged. But something far more important had shifted. As Daniel gathered his papers, people approached him quietly. A young man whispered, "Thank you for your service." An older woman wiped her eyes. The general stopped Daniel near the door. "You did nothing wrong today," he said. "You stood with dignity. That matters." Daniel managed a small smile. "I just wanted to get back to work before my shift starts." The general nodded. "Your daughter would be proud." Later that evening, Daniel picked Lily up from school. She ran to him, wrapping her arms around his legs. "Did the judge like your medals?" she asked. Daniel knelt down, meeting her eyes. "He learned something today," he said gently. That night, as Lily slept, Daniel sat at the kitchen table, the medals laid out beside him. He realized something had changed, and not just in the courtroom, but in him. Silence had its place, but so did truth. And if there's one message this story leaves behind, it's this: never judge someone's worth by appearances, and never mock sacrifices you don't understand. Quiet heroes walk among us every day. If this story touched your heart, like the video and subscribe to the channel, because stories of honor, humility, and humanity deserve to be heard.